and welcome back to the Faith and Culture Show. I'm Catherine Camp, your hostess for the show. This is where we dig deeply into all sorts of topics in our culture, and we do this to educate ourselves in order to have those conversations that count, conversations with an eternal perspective. As you know, I try to bring on very interesting people from all walks of life. There are so many Christians out there doing so many things, and this is what I want to showcase. Today, we have a developer and music producer. Don't think I've ever had a music producer on other than Pastor Caspar, but we're going to talk to Sheri Thrower today. Sheri is an award-winning artist, developer, and music producer from the Chattanooga tri-state area. Her music groups and artists have performed at the nation's most renowned performing venues that include Radio City Music Hall, America's Got Talent auditions, the nation's capital, Carnegie Hall, and more. Wow. Recently, they sang for Tucker Carlson at the GOP district convention in Georgia. I guess that was, I'm not sure when that was. We'll ask Sheri. As a vocal coach, she works with top reality TV talent shows, submitting cream of the crop talent to them. That looks pretty promising for those of you who want to pursue a music career out there. Her students have been featured on The Voice and have received private interviews and callbacks with American Idol. Along with her new husband, Jeff Yarborough, Sheri stays busy producing faith-based films and music videos. Their new pro-life short film music video called Two Pink Lines will be released next month. It features the songwriters and music of Sheri's Christian music label, the Grove Jesus Music. To learn more about Sheri, we are going to talk to her, and she will give us all of her information where we can reach her, and you all can look her up. And if you are an aspiring artist, this is going to be the show for you. So let's bring Sheri on. Thank you, Sheri.
Hey, Catherine. Hello, and thank you so much for having me today.
I'm delighted. This is going to be a real treat for me because I am not in the music industry, and I know that there are many aspiring young artists out there in all the sense of the word, you know, the vocals, anything else. How do people even get involved? So I would like you to start out with telling us about why you're doing what you're doing. How did God lead you to this type of work?
I'll be glad to tell you. It all started in music education, and I was an elementary music teacher here in Georgia, and I directed a 120 voice children's choir, and we were invited to sing at Radio City Music Hall. And the reason we were invited, so they tell me, is because we did adult music with little kids. So we did Christmas music at the time, and that's one of the reasons they invited us, because they said we were the only school in the country that they knew of that was singing real Christmas music with Christian lyrics when they talk about real Christmas music.
Yeah.
So we were invited several years in a row, and then I just had a really, really talented group of kids, and that progressed to America's Got Talent calling us, and we went to audition for that and got a call back for it, and then this group of kids, I started out being their elementary music teacher, and so when they got into 5th grade, we didn't want to see each other leave. So I started a nonprofit called Sing Academy, and that was a choir with the kids from the tri-state area, plus those kids that I directed and took to Radio City. And so we started opening for artists like Vince Gill, and singing with some gospel music artists, and recording. And then that developed into the Grove Jesus Music, which is a label that I started with some of those artists. So those kids that I started with when they were in kindergarten are now in their 20s, and we're all not all of us, but a lot of us are still together. And now that's even developed into American All-Star Voices. And that's the group that opened for Tucker Carlson. And we just got back from Carnegie Hall. We were the opening act at Carnegie, and it was amazing.
I bet. So many people dream of getting to do that in their careers. Wow. Okay, so you turned that that small little group. See, that's so beautiful, because we can't expect to start big right away. In fact, you probably learned a lot of lessons along the way, like how you can make things better as you grew. Did you, or am I just?
Oh, lots of lots of lessons. I think that's part of being a business owner too, is that we learned lessons that we need to do differently, things that we need to do the same. And when I first started working with young people, and that really is my heart. I mean, even though I don't teach school anymore, and I do this full time on my own with Sheri Productions, even though I started out with little kids, I originally planned the program for little kids, and I went on to a news show here in the Chattanooga area, and they interviewed me, and we interviewed for auditions. So I was expecting all these third, fourth, and fifth graders to show up, and when it came 6 o'clock and it was time for the auditions at the local church here, I opened the door and it was all teenagers. And they said, "We saw you on the news, and can we sing too?" Well, there weren't any little kids that showed up. They were all teens. And so I just
Wow.
had to totally revamp everything, because I was planning on teaching 1 and 2 part music, for little kids. And then when the teens showed up, I was like, "Come on in." And I thought, right here on the spot, I have got to teach these kids 4-part harmony. Because it has to be a challenge for them, but we did it, and it has stayed teens and young adults mostly that I work with. And I still do work with little kids as a vocal coach, but my work is mainly with teens and young adults. And when I recommend vocalists for the reality TV talent shows, well, that cutoff age is 28, I believe it is. So the age range that I work with is like 28 and under, like 16 to age 28. But it's exciting. They keep me young. They're fun to work with.
I bet. Yeah, youth will keep you young, being around them. That's what I love about teaching college is that they will come into the classroom and ask you things like using words that I'm not used to, and so it keeps me on top of things, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for that. And their lingo these days is a little bit different than when I grew up. So they educate me on, like they probably do you, on today's vocabulary or lingo with young people, and so that keeps me in the loop on things.
Okay, so tell us, like, what are some of the steps that you would consider, and you chose, I guess, music, Christian music, because I'm assuming that's what you were used to. Did you grow up singing in the choir?
My dad is a preacher, and my grandfathers are both ministers, and my uncles. I mean, it's all in the family. And even though I have the Grove Jesus music, I do direct pop music, country music. I'm a vocal coach, so I teach it all, and I'm a producer, so I produce all kinds of music. But I do want to say how that relates to being a Christian in today's world, if I may.
Please do.
Well, the Lord told me that I would be placed in the entertainment industry, and I had a good friend of mine in Christian music, and he said, "Sheri, you can continue being the one light in the dark, or a light in the darkness, or you a light among lights." Let me rephrase that: a light among other lights, or you can be the light in the darkness. And I grew up singing in church. I grew up singing in auditoriums with gospel music, and we got the standing ovations, and we signed the autographs and signed CDs back then. But I thought, is that all there is to it? You know? And I even said that out loud in my hotel room one night. I was like, "Look, is this all there is to it? You know, we got a standing ovation. We did all these things, but I really don't feel like I'm making a difference outside of my Christian box here." So that's when the Lord opened the door for me to start working in secular music. And then I started meeting actors and actresses and entertainment people from the television stations, the networks. And I promised the Lord that I would be witnessing to them and sharing the word. And I did my best to do that. A lot of it is just planting seeds. Sometimes we don't see those seeds come to the full blown plant, but that's not our responsibility. That's the Holy Spirit's responsibility. So I feel like that the secular music opens the door for us to share the gospel, because we can go in and sing the secular music, and then I'll always throw in a gospel song. Like one of the songs that my groups will sing is Amen, the spiritual Amen. Well, that tells the whole story of Jesus when he was born till he died, was buried, and rose again. So we share the gospel in that 4 minutes by using the secular music to get in the doorway. So I feel like that's my gift, is to, I think God has moved me beyond so-called church music, even though we do have the Grove, and that is Christian music. But as far as what I'm doing right now with these young people and singing at Carnegie Hall and singing at, the auditions that we have for the different talent shows, it really does open up the door for me to share about Jesus.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because in our walk, as you know, you well know, being in a PK and
Yeah.
and and that whole business, that we're supposed to be, in the world and not of the world, and
Right.
also because we have to make a difference in the world, and it's just one of those things where we are called to shine that light, and that takes stepping out, and that's one of the big things that I think you set a very good example,
Thank you.
that you can still maintain your faith and without compromise. And it is important for us to bring God's word into the public realm without, and if people can accept it or not. And you're using a wonderful avenue of music. Now, I know a lot more goes into music than just learning the chords and making contracts. Do you tell me what else you do? Because you have to have organization with your students, and they have to learn certain protocols. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, and being full time in music and having your own business and going from teaching to now I teach by Zoom and sometimes in person. I mean, with a choral group that I direct, that's in person. But yes, you have to be. You still have to get up early, and you still have to have your routine. And I have people that sign up for lessons. They have their time each week. Um, I I feel like with being married to Jeff, and he's a film producer, and now that we're involved in faith-based movies, that now we're having the opportunity to schedule our time to work with people who might have wonderful stories. And just like with Two Pink Lines that you mentioned, we had a young girl who was a teen, and at the time she was 19, now she's 20. But she wrote us because she had a wonderful story about her mom got pregnant with her when 20 years ago, and she chose to have the baby. She didn't think that the father would have anything to do with her after finding out she was pregnant. But she went ahead and had the baby, and he married her. She gave the baby her last name because she didn't think the daddy would want her. And then he came back and even adopted his own daughter and went through all the procedures of adoption to have his daughter and have for her to have his name. So she said, "Can you help us write a story about a song and a film?" So we put all that together, and we came up with a song that we helped her write. It was a surprise to her mom, and it was a thank you song for the song is called Two Pink Lines, but the chorus is like, God makes no mistakes, and two pink lines are no mistake. So we're a part of that, scheduling time with people like you're talking about, and having time to write, and then having time to produce the movie, and then having time to the edits and everything, and they're all involved in it. So when we release Two Pink Lines, then that song will go out on Spotify as a single, but also on YouTube as a short film, and then we're going to enter it in a Christian film festival, and who knows, it could become a feature film from that. But all that takes being organized. I'm not the most organized person in the world. I'm all creativity, but to have your own business, you do have to have organization as you see it. My organized world might be different than someone else's, but it's organized, and we're getting a lot done. We're helping people tell their stories. We're helping people write songs that say what their soul wants to say.
Okay.
And getting their music out, and it's all over the world. Our music is like over 125 countries.
That's awesome. And that's one of the real special things about music, is that you can tell a story through music. Unfortunately, it has been in the 20th century, 21st century, it's been very perverted. And
Right.
So there are ways to pervert music, and that's when the enemy is telling stories and putting suggestions into people's head. So it's refreshing to hear about ways that people that can tell their story through the hurt that they've been through, and their victories and triumphs.
Right.
So, and to help other people who might be going through the same thing.
Absolutely, because our story, everybody has a story, and everybody has that part of their life that says this should be a movie. Well, we help people turn it into a movie, because we all have those things in our life that we stand back and go, wow, I made it through that, and look where I am today because of that, and then we see the goodness and the grace of God in our lives that got us through it. And so to bring that to the screen, and to also have a song to go with it, is a powerful way, and another way to share the gospel. You can share scripture, which is the most powerful way, but also Jesus was a storyteller. So if we're like Jesus and telling the story through film and music, then that's just another way to honor the Lord and get people to know about him.
Do you find that Christian content is on the rise?
I do, especially with the fall of Hollywood. Now's the time and I have met a lot of wonderful Christian people that are from Hollywood. Even when I'm a feeder vocal coach to some of the reality TV talent shows out there. And so when I meet with these producers, a lot of them are Christian, and we'll talk about the Lord, and they'll talk about where they go to church. And I've been invited to speak for some actors and actresses groups out in California. There's good Christian people there. And it is a wonderful time. Even the young people that I work with, just yesterday, one of our artists, Ian Ambrosetti, you'll see him a lot on my Facebook page, but he said, with Hollywood kind of falling apart, it's a prime time for us to step in and make great content, and make films and shows that are good and also have a good message, but they're quality produced. That's the thing. I think Christians we have to up our game a little bit on the quality of the movies and shows that we're putting out there. Now's the time to do it.
It is the time to do it. That what I have always felt is that, yes, Christian films, it's not the highest quality, but most of that Because of funding, that they
It is.
can't be funded?
It is. Money has a lot to do with it and low budgets. But, now we're seeing a lot of films that are coming to the scene that they do have good funding. And Angel Studios is one that's putting out great content right now. There's others and movie producers that I've met in the past few years. I mean, that's how I met Jeff, is I went to a Christian film festival and met some wonderful Christian film producers. And Jeff, my husband's a wonderful Christian film producer and our director. And so yeah, there's a lot of wonderful Christian people out there that do quality work, and I think we're going to see more of that. I think America is really hungry for things that are good taste in films. It's been so trashy for so long, if that's the right word. You know how the film industry is. It's just it's something else. You have to be careful. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see, and go into the movies and what you hear. You just see everything. So I think people are wanting to get back to family values, and you remember like Little House on the Prairie and all those shows.
Yes.
I think we still like good family value shows.
Yes. So, okay, did you call it bald Hollywood?
The fall of Hollywood.
The fall.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, well, maybe it is bald by now. It has no more hair, It's just kind of like blowing up over there.
Yeah, things are kind of falling in Hollywood, and what
Yes.
we're not working anymore. So it's a good time for Christians to step in and build it back right.
And I find that very interesting. God's timing is perfect.
It is.
Because all of this time, Christian content just has been getting better and better and better. Like you say, it hasn't been the greatest, but then we had Angel Studios put stuff out there that is very good content, very well done. I think that's bringing a lot of people to Christ. It's the first time that a lot of people have actually seen Jesus and the disciples in their context.
Right.
And so it brings people to, okay, they weren't in the 21st century. They had problems too. There was the Roman, the Romans who were very opposing over them. And I'm hoping that people really learn from that. So, because it's happened here too. I mean, it never went away, the Roman Empire. It's just kind of, moved around, and lots of different countries are still under some kind of rule like that with taxation. And so maybe people will learn about that as well. Okay, so what does it take? Say you said that you produce people's stories. How do people even go about reaching you all, or how do you decide whose story to take on? Do they need to fund it themselves or pay you money? How does that work?
That's a really good question. And several times a year, I will put it out on my Facebook page, and I say, you have a story and we have a theme song. So I'll say, contact me, and they'll reach out and say, here's my story. And one of those is with a song that we just produced called Pages. And there was this guy that lost his daughter and his mother, and he went through divorce, and his son died. I mean, he lost everything, and even his career. And he wrote a poem, and it says, he mentioned all those different heartaches in his life, and he said, which these are pages I would burn, and like you wish they didn't happen. So we helped him change his story around to be, if you were asked which pages would you burn? Well, if it all works for your good, which we know that God does work all things for our good, even those pages that you would want to burn. I have pages I'd like to burn. You have pages you would like to burn. He had those pages he wanted to burn. But would we really burn all those experiences if they made us who we are today? So we took that song and brought out that message. and we produced it and put it out there with we have the Grove Jesus music, but we also have the Orchard, which is more of secular music. So we produced this song and put it out there, and we're even pitching it to film. That's one thing we do. We can use it in our films, but we can also pitch it to other films who are looking, and films are always looking for music. That's the one thing that they need. They need that theme song. They need the mood music to go behind the story, and that's what we do. But it's just as simple as going to my website, SheriThrower.net, or contacting me on Facebook. Send me a message.
That sounds, see, so everyone, if you're an aspiring artist out there, if you have a story, like Sheri says, go over there, just check it out, see what happens. Okay, so is it all vocal, or do you also help people with instrumental instruction?
I am mainly a commercial vocal coach, but I do teach some piano, mainly the Nashville number system, which is reading chord charts and studio type thing. There's a difference when you go to Nashville. A lot of people don't really take sheet music. They just give you a number system, and you have to know what those chords are and be able to read what those numbers are in any key. So I help teach that, and in fact, just with the movie Two Pink Lines that we've done, well, Ian Ambrosetti that I mentioned a while ago is one of our all-star students, and he came over. He's been studying piano, and I said, well, let's put that to use. So we let him do a little bit of composing on our film. So he thought of some of the piano music for mood music. We brought him over here, let him compose whatever he heard. We paid him. And that was his first film. So he'll get credit as film composer with IMDb. And then his name will be in the credits in the film when it comes out.
Wow. That's awesome for somebody who wants to, who really, they're working at it. Well, that's awesome. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and, we use young people in our film music. So like, we'll use young people to sing the theme song. And we've used a lot of people who are, in their 20s, young 20s to sing in our films. And Ian's the first to come along and play in the film. But, young people are marketable. They are. They got that energy in their voice. They got energy in their whole look. So that's one reason I just love working with them. Plus, you can go to college to learn things, but there's so much I learned. And I went to college and I majored in music, but there's so much that I learned beyond college too. And so it's like we take them and teach them those things. You're going to study music, but here's the film side, and here's the studio side, and here's the vocal coaching side. You mainly study classical music in college, like I did. I had classical vocal training. The commercial side came after college. So that's what I like to do, is teach the commercial side of life in film and in vocal coaching too. But I admire the classical training. I do.
Yeah. Well, isn't that considered, now please correct me if I'm wrong, I took voice lessons, but I didn't get that far where I learned this is classical or this is whatever. Isn't that it sounds to me like classical would be your base. Is it?
It's more the traditional way of singing, the arias and the German songs and the American art song. Most of the colleges today teach that, and that's important to know too. And so, as a music major, I had to learn the more classical, we call it classical side of life. But I was also in show choir, and with my wonderful director, the late Dr. Glenn Draper. So we traveled all over the world singing with him. And I guess a part of him will always live with me, because what he got me excited to do in music, that's what I now do. And with young people, and we travel everywhere, like to New York and sing at Carnegie. We've been to Hawaii. We've been to Texas. We've been we've been everywhere, and I love doing that. And now I'm 60, and I don't want to stop. I want to keep going.
You don't have to stop.
I really don't have to stop. That's
No.
one good thing about film and television, though. Even though I don't teach school anymore, that's something I can do forever. Is keep working and composing and writing stories and bringing them to life, and keep on in the entertainment industry. You can just never get too old for that. But I love bringing the young people up and let them, you have to find your way. You have to navigate this entertainment industry. And so I feel like what we provide is a one-stop shop. We got music, film, writing books, everything. And it's a safe place for young people because our team, they're all Christian. And we have acting coaches for kids who want to take acting classes, and they're Christians. And so everybody we network them with and connect them to are good Christian people. So it's a safe place.
Okay. So say someone, say a young person or a parent who sees that their child really likes acting, and they don't want them to get mixed up with the crowd that a lot of schools have. The ones who love all that stuff are not. Most of them are atheists, and sometimes they can draw your child away from God because it's the cool, and they're a little bit different, which is fine. I'm not putting anything down, but I'm just saying, how can a parent step it up? And what advice would you give them as far as allowing their child to be involved in all of that, or maybe even put them in a private atmosphere where they kind of step out of the crowd that would be, am I saying this right? That would be at the school that really they're a little bit nervous having their child around. And this sounds so terrible, I know, but I know the fear of that. And there are other ways.
Right. And it's a real world, and we have to live in it. But I think the thing about being involved with us is we kind of walk with the kids through their high school experience, through their college experiences, and even if they stray, if they've already strayed a little bit and coming to us, we're still going to love them. We're still going to share the word. We're still going to be there for them. It's just like I have to, more than the evil influence with the kids that I work with, I have to work with our kids on people who are jealous and haters. You hear a lot about haters today. So are we there? I think we got cut off.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Are you there? Okay.
Yes, I just wanted people to focus on what you're saying.
Oh, okay. You disappeared.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything has gotten so polarized, unfortunately. But for instance, let me just, so that I'm maybe a little clearer.
Okay.
I have one daughter who loved tennis. But for some reason, the school kept blocking her from being on the varsity. And it wasn't her talent. And so I think I know what it was. I can talk to you about it later. But schools will hold things against the kids for what their parents stand for.
Right.
So if that happens, I wanted her to have that. She had that passion. So I just enrolled her in USTA, United States Tennis Association. And I did all the footwork of finding where all of the matches were, getting her involved on a team outside of the school, and having her compete, at a higher level, because I knew she could, instead of the intramural or in the school system. So I guess what I'm asking is that possible in what you all do as well, where parents can just divert their children to a whole different world, maybe that's a step up from what they would normally get at school?
I think so, and I think that it's well, proof is in the pudding. You know, we have kids that they're always looking for student film opportunities. Well, you don't always have to go to student film opportunities. You can just jump right in to other opportunities, pro opportunities, and that's and you that you can't find in high school or even in college. So we do provide that upper level, if that's what you're talking about, beyond the school, in film and television. I don't know of anybody that really trains for these reality TV shows, vocal coaching in high school, because it's mainly traditional vocal coaching that goes on in high school. So
Okay.
that's where outside of school that we're different. Um, Composing for films at 17 years old. You know, that's
Wow.
do. And but we mentor, we coach, we go there first and then say, hey, come along. And so I do think a lot of the things that we provide are that level above even high school. In college, I would never advise anybody not to go to college. I did. I have a degree. I'm glad that I do. But I do think that there are those outside school experiences that, like singing in studios and singing commercials or whatever, that provide beyond the natural, experiences, pave the way beyond the textbook. I guess that's the way I should say.
So it's
And
a nice addition to what kind of advice would you give to parents? Like, if they see this, how do they look you up? If what if they don't live in the same state or the same area? You said that
right,
you have different connections around. I don't know if that means around the country or the
it is.
state.
Most of my students are around the country. The group that I took to Carnegie is a group of 6 that are here in the Chattanooga area. Everything else I do is by Zoom and around the country. I even had a student from Ireland, but um, yeah, so my students are like from Virginia and Alabama and different places. So with that's a good thing about Zoom and doing things online. And I work with different time zones, like people in California and all that. So it's just a matter of just reaching out to me, really. And I provide a 10-minute free session. And of course, we do charge for our services, but they get that 10 minutes free where they get to know me, I get to know them, and then we set up the best path for the singer or the actor, and go from there.
And you said you also teach them how to write. Is that lyrics or books or everything?
I do write books and I'm a ghostwriter, but my main thing is songwriting. So I have a songwriting program and I am also a music publisher. So I take them through the process of writing the song, coming up with the idea, the main hook, and developing it to a full blown produced song, and we sign it with BMI, and they become a registered songwriter. And then I also promote the song, so we upload it to Spotify and YouTube and all the different platforms. And I have a radio promoter, and we send it out all over the world. So it starts out as this little idea, and then through the classes that we provide, then it grows and then becomes a full blown project that we produce in Nashville.
Wow. I mean, who would not want to do that? Now, are there scholarships, because not everyone can afford to take, even locally? I mean, I
Right.
paid for one of my daughters to take voice lessons at a place outside of the school, and it was very expensive, but she wanted to sing. And so
Right.
that's what I did and it gets expensive. But so I'm just wondering, do you have scholarships for those who can't afford it?
That's a good question. We do have angel supporters, and those are people who we will go to them and say, here's the situation. Usually we provide the people to give us a letter telling us their situation through our nonprofit organization. So it's a tax write off for those who want to donate. And several of our kids have had their full project sponsored by angel sponsors, and the parents didn't have to pay for anything. We give them the tools, and we have the letter that they can send out to businesses and say, here's what we're doing, and you can give, different levels of giving, and we provide benefits for those, like advertisement for their business, for one, on our website and on my Facebook page and all of our social media. But I do have I have a few students that have just done really well, and they recorded, then they've gone to college and they've got connections in Nashville, and they're doing great. But it all started with that sponsored project.
That's beautiful. I love that. So what advice would you give to aspiring artists out there, or their parents maybe, to move forward?
That's a really good question. I think the number one thing for me is start when they're young. You can really, I've asked a lot of actors and actresses and singers out there, when did you know that this is what you wanted to do? All of them said, probably when I was in second grade. So
Wow.
those kind of people that know, yeah, that's really who we work with, is people that really have a passion, and they've known for a long time that this is what I want to do. This is the only thing I want to do. Like, I'm working with a teen Elvis impersonator right now, and he is so good. He shows up in our lessons all dressed up like Elvis. He's just gone to a convention, Elvis convention in Nashville. He is so serious about it. And so I'm working with him on a competition. And we have a lot of competition winners with us. I mean, first place, lots of first place vocalists, but he wants to do this for a living. And he'll say, I want to do this all my life. I want to be an Elvis impersonator. Oh, okay,
Wow.
let's go with it. But his parents are real supportive of it. And in his lessons, we do all Elvis music, and we work on his moves, and he's got every outfit Elvis has ever worn in a movie. And he
That could
has,
be expensive itself.
yeah, he even makes his own Elvis belts. Like, he
Oh my.
designs his own big belts like Elvis wears in the movies out of cardboard and stuff. I mean, he's so into this. He is so Elvis. And
Wow.
so I'm working with him right now on an upcoming competition that's going to be in Pigeon Forge, I think. But yeah, I would say foster that if they love music, they love to sing, then start it while they're young and keep it going, encouraging them. But as you get older, and this is what I always tell our teens, is they'll come to me, oh, I have this dream to be in music, and I want to be a singer. Well, talent is about 20% of it out here in the business world. You got to know, you got to have a business brain. You got to know all about what it takes. You got to have a mindset. You've got to have, be prepared that sometimes you're going to have haters, and you're going to have people who are jealous of you. And how are you going to handle that? And you're going to have people promising you all kinds of things. And how do you navigate? So it's not just all about talent. It's a lot of it. Of course, you have to be a good singer, but there's so much more about being in the music industry and the entertainment industry that goes beyond talent. We try to help them with that.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. That's true. That's a tricky business, and it's good to have a coach that is behind you, helping you navigate the territory, because
Thank you.
it can get really bad.
Well, you have to use wisdom, and it's good to have counselors and people who advise you, and people who've been there and done that, and people who look after you and have your back. That's what I'm always telling my kids, that they're experiencing that the higher they go in the industry, boy, you have people that can be really mean, and I'm like, I got your back. Jeff and I have your back. Our team, we have your back. Don't lose focus. Stay focused on what you want to do and where you're going, because there are always going to be these little dogs barking. Little chihuahuas is what I think of them as, snapping at your heels, trying to make you lose focus. And so I think that's the one thing that people don't really realize. These teens don't realize that it can be a dog eat dog world, as you probably know. And
Yeah.
you've got to have your team is so important. You've got to have all good apples. One bad apple spoils a whole bunch. You know the saying. And
Yeah.
so we provide that supportive team that are good apples and that are to stay with these kids along the way. And we're all, it's not just me advising them, it's our whole team working with them, and to have their back, advising them on decisions to make and where to go and what auditions to do and not to do. So that's important to us.
That is key. That is super important. Thank you for that. That is not something everyone thinks about. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Yes. Yes, and you know, people promise you all these things in film, and then you get into the film and you find out that the content's not really what you thought it was. So you know, you have to have people who know people and people who are familiar and with how things are run. And so um, that's that's important, that you have a team, not just out there by yourself, but having that team. And you know, we're very pro parents being with us in all this, and we communicate a lot with the parents and tell them what we're doing, what our plan is, and we have a good relationship with our parents.
And that's good to hear. Okay, so where can people find you? You say Facebook. What do they look for on Facebook?
You can find me at Sheri Thrower Yarborough. You can find me at sherithrower.net. And I don't know if there's a way you could provide that somewhere on your, maybe after this, and write it at the top of your video. But
I'll put it in the note. Yes.
Okay. That's the best way to contact me. Yeah, I respond pretty quickly on my website and my Facebook.
Okay. Okay, everyone. If you have a child out there, or if you just fell into this on this channel and you're a young person, this is such a good program. And I love the way that you all, you hang in there with them and you coach them from just learning chords to all the way through to whatever they aspire, you know, production, anything, auditions, whatever it entails at that time. That's so important to have people who stand by you.
Yeah, and I would like to say that when I go into these reality TV talent shows, I go with them into the audition. So the producers will send us a link, and we'll all be in there together. So I'm in there with them when they audition, and I'm in there. I coach them for the interview and the questions I know that they're probably gonna ask them, and the type of music that I know they want to hear. So yeah, we walk with them through it. We sure do.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing with us today. I really appreciate it, and it's been delightful to get to know you a little bit.
You as well. Thank you so much for having me. And
well, keep up the, yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, if anybody out there that has a story, interested in film, or has a teen talent, or maybe teens are watching this, and you're interested in going to the next level, we can take you there, and we'll take you there in a safe way.
That sounds wonderful. I didn't know something like this existed, so this is very good to know.
Thank you.
So, well, God bless you, and thank you for what you're doing and your persistence.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.